So the S4HANA business case, the first thing to remember is that the business case is likely to be drafted by McKinsey, KPMG, EY, Deloitte, PwC, etc. One of these big management consultancies or advisory firms. And the reason for that is that it justifies the approval to spend 50 million or 100 million or 20 million or 200 million. If something goes wrong, the C-level, the founders of the business, the majority shareholders can say, look, we did it the way we were supposed to do it. McKinsey, here's their business case. We did everything right. So it has two dimensions. It has the dimension of covering themselves, assurance, and it has the dimension of approving vast amounts of expenditure, which also will reflect on the market. Investors and shareholders will see that this is that they're doing things properly, but also there are all sorts of alignments with regulatory and compliance concerns. Now, in terms of constructing the business case, which happens early on, what are your target numbers? Now, your target numbers, in other words, the quote given by, let's say, your system integrators, may not be the final cost. The final cost may be multiples of the original quote. In fact, the sales departments of these third parties that you do business with will try and undermine or lower the cost and effort that will actually be involved. Another thing to think about is, as well as your target number, is your target state. Now, when we say an S4 HANA transformation, that's just the core. You're likely going to be moving beyond that. So SAP does not see HCM, which is part of the core, as being strategic any longer. It sees success factors as being strategic. So you're likely going to have success factors, but that's not all. You're likely to have Concur, you're likely to have Fieldglass, and when you start looking at human capital as procurement, you're crossing into Ariba capabilities. When you talk about data, SAP's target strategic direction is the Business Data Cloud, which is includes all sorts of data assets, DataSphere, SAP Analytics Cloud, it's AI platforms that relate to data, it's Databricks partnership, Snowflake, Business Warehouse, and all sorts of products and solutions within that domain. Also with its user experience or customer experience platforms, you've got Sales Cloud, Commerce Cloud, all sorts of solutions. So you have to consider what the target actually will be. Now, there are a number of ways of looking at the business case, and I'm going to roughly cover three areas. The first is that there is no business case. Nothing, no matter how you quantify the ROI, value and benefits, no matter what numbers you put on them, there is nothing that justifies the expenditure of, say, 50 million. The realism on that side of the argument is that businesses are being coerced to do this because SAP is moving away, not providing support, ECC is coming to end of life, and businesses are being coerced to transform. The sort of midway argument away from that position that there are no business benefits really, is that generally you have benefits. So for example, technology is moving at pace and you want to keep up. If you don't, then ultimately one day when you do transform, the change is going to be that much harder. There's going to be that much more of a gap. And so that feeds into the argument of reducing technical debt, being future-proof, and so on. And it also feeds into fear of missing out. If your competitors are relying on artificial intelligence. That gives them a competitive advantage, therefore you need to not just keep up, but if you yourself, your own business is going to maintain competitive advantage and differentiation and sustain it, then you need to make those changes, and that all leads to strategy. And then you've got other overall advantages, such as a single pane of glass. So with all of the modules or the business as a whole in its entirety, from the parent company to company codes, individual legal entities, etc., you can have a single pane of glass with which you can make real-time decisions, forecast, and make good strategic decisions. But that all relies on you fully understanding your data assets, all the integrations between those assets work perfectly, your analytics are all set up perfectly, and you can achieve that, the utopia of that final result. And let's not forget that 25 years ago, the pitch was the same. And you can also look at high-level benefits like supply and demand harmonization, the ability to reroute according to new regulations, tariffs, that sort of thing coming into place. So you can list out high-level benefits, put numbers to them, and that could help justify the business case, or justify the cost, which is what, in essence, one of the dimensions that we're comparing it against. And then there's the third ish argument, moving away still further from that, is that you can actually quantify benefits in quite a bit of detail. For example, SAP does provide tools that allow you to look at each process and benchmark it against industry standards and elevate your high-ranked processes. So you can actually create a large list. It can extend into the thousands of actual micro benefits, if you want to call it that, that the transformation will result in. So those are ways of looking at the business case, but the actual ROI, value and benefits, will result in your final solution. If your final solution does meet your expectations, does resemble utopia as you imagined it, the sales pitch comes true, then perhaps you can go a longer way in justifying the spend of 10 million, 50 million, 200 million, 500 million, a billion. But if it doesn't, if your final solution costs several times the original estimate, takes 3 times as long, and you find that you actually can only really do pretty much what you were doing with your old system, then you are heading into the territory of actually negative ROI, negative values, negative benefits, because those do not justify the spend. So there are lots of variables, as you can see, from the very beginning where expectations are set to the very end where expectations are met or not. If you need any assistance with this, then feel free to message me, details below.